I got to thinking. I did a video a couple of days ago about addiction, and this comment was put on there. Y'all can read it. It's asking about what the relationship was like between my mama and my daddy and my brother before rehab and after rehab. And okay, you have to understand, if you've been following me very long, a lot of my content's about my family. You've heard the name Robbie Grace and Herbert Glenn. If you haven't, that's my mama and my daddy, and Duck is my brother. And at the very end, there was not really a relationship. I was not the guy you wanted to see coming. I always had a problem. I was always in the center of the storm. You understand? Robbie Grace was my biggest enabler. Really. My mother would have, I took advantage of that for years and years. I would try to get there when my daddy wasn't there. Mama would give me every penny she had. Just try to keep calmness. Because my daddy had enough. He had enough and he meant it. And the way I got to rehab was my daddy swore out 6 warrants for my arrest. Because something I think I've mentioned a couple of times on live, that I had stolen from everybody, and especially my parents. We added it up one time, right around $50,000. And I'm not proud of that at all. That's just part of my story. And part of what gracious parents and graceful parents I had. They made a decision that saved my life. My parents did, because me and my wife had separated. But my mama and daddy were in contact with my wife. And they made a plan to get me to rehab. But my mama and daddy decided I was not welcome at their house. They would not even feed me. I was not, because people will say, well, I'll always feed my baby. But I couldn't be trusted in the house. You got me? I think that decision saved my life. My parents wouldn't feed me. Then I went to rehab. Went to Louisiana Adult and Teen Challenge, it's called now. It's called Teen Challenge when I went. And like I've said before, I don't just say it just nonchalantly. Jesus radically changed me on February 13th, 2012. And what was like my relationship before and now? The only thing I can really tell you is I went from the child that nobody wanted around, because as parents, you're only as happy as your most unhappiest child. I learned that being a daddy. I went from the child nobody wanted to be around or didn't want to be around till days before my mother passed away. I would walk into the room and she would raise her hand and say, "Son, come pray with me." I spoke at my mama's funeral. My daddy and brother wanted me to do that. That's not anything towards me, just how far Jesus brought me. You understand? I can be the friend now to my daddy and my brother that they've always been to me. You understand? Me and my brother were always tight, but I couldn't be trusted around them either. But it's completely different now. I tell a lot of stories about how good things were, and they were good for a long time. They really were. But they were bad too. 99% of the time it was my doing. It was. Me and my daddy are probably as close as a father and son can be, who are just alike, as we'll bicker and argue and fight. He'll cuss me, but I love it. I was living, before I went to rehab, in a place across the road from my parents. My daddy got some rental properties close to his house, and he had an old double-wide trailer, and it didn't have many windows in it. It didn't have heat, didn't have air. It had water and electricity, and I wouldn't even work. And my daddy let me move into it. I didn't even buy a shower curtain. That's how far down I would take a shower and I didn't have a shower curtain. That's always stuck with me for some reason. And I spent the day trying to find what I could steal or walk the roads, collect cans to get enough to get $12 to go to the methadone clinic. And I asked my daddy one time, I said, Daddy, because they wouldn't feed me, but I could live across the road in that trailer. Why did you do that? Why did you let me stay there? And he was drinking a cup of coffee. And he took a drink and brought it down. And in the gentlest Herbert Glenn voice he could say, he said, son, so when you died, I could find you for your mama. And when I came back, they noticed the change in me. The change in me and my dedication to Christ and my walk with Christ brought my parents closer to Jesus. It just did. And I think my brother probably too. I don't take any credit for that. Don't think that. But it's just the truth. Because I'm not a preacher. I'm a storyteller and I'm a truth teller. It radically changed me. And it radically changed my life and my family's life. Beautiful collateral damage. And I love telling that story. I do. Now, Robbie Grace has gone on to glory now. But she got to see the change in me. And my daddy's been seeing it for 12 years now. And I got a key to his house. And I got a key to his gun safe if I need it. That says a lot. If you can imagine that, we are the same.